What was your relation to Colonel Parker?
Well, he was a lifetime family friend, and growing up we called him Uncle Tom, and then he got the Colonel designation, and we were all call him Uncle Colonel. And his wife was Aunt Marie to us, and he was, as I said, a family friend. So he was always over at our house whenever we were in California after we moved from Chicago in '52.
Mm-hmm. Now people kind of gave him a bad rap, didn't they?
Oh yeah, to this day they still do.
It was funny because, Charles Stone said to me, Joe, Colonel Parker said to me that they're going to make Elvis a god and they're going to make me the devil. And it seems like that's what people did to poor Mr. Parker.
Yeah, you're right. But it's interesting that the people that were on the inside, close to him, have a totally different story about him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Joe, I have to go in for my therapy.
Okie doke. I'll talk to you another time then.
Okay, anytime.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Hello?
Yeah, hi, Ed. This is Joe. You got a few minutes?
Let me see. I may have a few minutes.
Did you have a nice lunch?
Oh, yeah, we had a great lunch.
Yeah, Susie's a sweetie. I tell you, I've really become really close with her. I've only known her for a pretty short time. I met her the last time I was, at that thing with Craig Parker and that. So, and we've really kind of hit it off.
Yeah, she's a good lady.
Yeah. I just thought I'd give you a call. Let's see what I wanted to ask you. Oh, do you remember a lot about the Sahara Tahoe, or?
No, it's one of the blank spots in my...
That's funny. I have those every night after 9 o'clock.
Yeah, Tahoe was, I don't know, it's kind of a vacation for everybody, so it's so laid back compared to Vegas.
Uh-huh. I never been to Tahoe. I've only been to the Vegas a couple times that you met me there. Did Elvis prefer Tahoe over Vegas, or vice versa, or?
I think he preferred almost any place over Vegas.
You think he liked playing other places instead of Vegas?
Oh yeah, he wasn't real fond of Vegas.
Really? Why was that?
Got on the same thing over and over, and he got bored. He was always getting upset there for one reason or another.
Mm-hmm. Did the Colonel prefer Vegas? I mean,
I don't know. It was Vegas was like a second home to the Colonel.
Right. Now, a lot of people say because he liked gambling, but he could gamble also at Tahoe too. So.
Oh yes. I spent many years of my life gambling with the Colonel in Vegas and in Tahoe.
Uh-huh. Well, there's nothing wrong with it as long as you don't lose your shirt.
Well, I lost my shirt. Some of my lower extremities besides.
When you first started out with working with the Colonel, it was right off with working with Elvis?
Well, I started during the August engagement in 1970 at the International Hotel. And I came in there for the last 2 weeks of the engagement to really start preparing things for the tour, which would have been the first tour he had done in many, many years.
Mm. We're talking 1969.
No, 70.
Well, it was, let me see, you had the 68 comeback special, then you had 69, he did his first international.
Right.
Yeah. Now, they say he was scared to death. I'm sure he was.
Well, he wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's true. Did he show that he was very nervous, or?
I didn't see him I didn't see him until August. And he didn't seem nervous then. He seemed like he was in total control.
Well, I think he was, so bored of the movies and stuff that he was. Well, he even said that he was back. He was so glad being back in front of a live audience. Now, did you take photos? Was that a part of your job, or is that just something you did on the side for yourself? What was your job for the Colonel and for Elvis?
Now, when the Colonel first called me in July, he said they had decided to start doing personal appearance tours again, and he wanted to know if my brother and I wanted to come along on the tours to help out in basically any way you could, almost as roadies.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever was needed to be done, we were there and could do it.
Gophers. They wanted you to go for this, go for that. You could do it.
Everything that needed to be done.
Yeah.
And because the Colonel was a family friend, he talked to us, a couple times a week by phone. My uncle was always there, of course. They knew what was going on in the family, and he had been told by my mother that I was taking a photography class in school. So when I talked to the Colonel, he says, by the way, I understand you're taking pictures now. He says, if you want to bring your camera, feel free to take all the pictures you want.
Wow.
So it was kind of an open invitation. I really didn't know if I wanted to or not.
Uh-huh.
And I had this unbelievably old, unsophisticated camera. But I brought it with me, and we started the tour in a couple of days after the Vegas closing. I started taking pictures. That was basically how it began. I liked it so much when I got off of the tour, I went back to school where I was still going to college, and I went back and I changed my major to industrial arts with a concentration in photography.
Uh-huh. Did you ever take photos of any other personalities, or?
Nope.
No, all Elvis. Well, once you start from the top, where else is there to go?
That's about the size.
It must have been very hard to take photos of Elvis, though. I mean, the people were just absolutely insane, always trying to get so close. How could you get good photos?
Well, I was oftentimes right up on the stage. I had to be on the speakers or leaning on the stage, and we had security, which was supposed to keep people in their seats. So if I wasn't on the stage, I only got on stage when we had to stack the speakers on the stage because the ceiling wouldn't support having them lifted up.
Right.
And otherwise, I'd be right on the side of the stage, leaning with my elbows on the stage, shooting from there.
Mm-hmm. Now, and other people weren't supposed to be taking photos, but obviously a lot of other people have. Now, was there a rule, no cameras, and they just got in anyway, or?
No, I think I even said on the ticket, I believe it said something like you can take pictures from your seats as long as you didn't leave your seat.
Uh-huh. Huh. And you can still hear after all these years being next to those speakers?
I always wore earplugs, always.
Did Elvis?
No.
He didn't.
But I always did because it was so loud, and with earplugs I could hear him perfectly, and it shut out all the damaging vibrations.
Uh-huh. Now, some people said that the Colonel would usually not stay and go on to the next tour date. Is that true, or?
Yeah, he was the advance man, and there were times when he stayed behind, but they were few and far between, really.
Uh-huh.
He always went ahead and made sure everything was ready, and then he was there to meet Elvis's plane when he came in.
Mm-hmm. What kind of guy was Elvis? I mean, as a friend? I mean, was he a nice? I mean, you've heard so many stories about him, and are most of them true, or most of them not true?
Well, I can only speak for myself. He was always a great guy. He was just one of the guys. He didn't have put on airs.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't act like he was the king or anything else. He
right.
was just a down-to-earth guy.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever get to go to Graceland?
I only went to Graceland after a couple of shows we did there. We'd have parties there.
Uh-huh.
And then the only other time I went there when he was alive was to shoot the pictures for the album cover of Recorded Live from Memphis, Tennessee, or Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis.
Oh, did you take that photo?
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize you took that photo. I always liked that cover, actually.
Yeah, those the front gates and the mansion. And
Uh-huh. Now, were you an Elvis fan?
were we what?
Were you an Elvis fan?
Oh, I was a huge fan. I grew up with Elvis because I knew the Colonel
Yeah.
from back in the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
even the late 40s. He was a family friend.
Uh-huh. So you probably couldn't believe it when all of a sudden he's the manager to Elvis Presley. That must have been a dream come true.
We never heard of Elvis Presley until one afternoon, Sunday afternoon, at my mom's house having dinner. Colonel finished dinner, and he would always tell us stories about show business and what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he sat back and he said, I signed a new boy this week, and I think he's going to be pretty good. His name is Elvis Presley. And that was the beginning of history.
What an understatement. I mean, did you ever think, I mean, even to this day, did you ever think that he would still be so popular? I mean, look how many years it's been.
Yeah. I actually never gave it any thought. I'm, of course, now looking back, I'm surprised at it a little bit, but Elvis was always concerned about that. You know, would he be remembered?
Really?
Yeah.
He'd actually come out and talk about it, or?
Yeah. He would say that. There's a couple people in the entourage. I can't remember. It was Kathy, or Patty Perry was one.
Uh-huh.
He said it too. I wonder if people will remember me in 10 years.
My gosh, look. Well, I think he'd be happy if he was still with us. When did you learn about when Elvis passed?
I learned about it I had left the show in beginning of April because I was dying and had a few personal problems, and I just had it. I was sick as a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked out of the Vegas hotel to the Hilton and got on a plane and went home on April 4th. And with all my phones, I wouldn't communicate with anybody. I just wanted to be left alone. I was totally burned out.
Yeah.
The guys, I used to take 8, 10 guys on the tours all the time as roadies and just to tell them the different things. You know, they'd all come over and try to get me to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even discuss it with them.
You were just so tired of it.
I was burned out. I think if I had not walked away, then I'd have been crazier than a hoot owl.
Really?
Worse than I am now.
Now just think of Elvis. I mean, you were taking, photos and doing things for Elvis and for the Colonel. Now just imagine if you had that weight on your shoulders and you were Elvis.
Oh, it's incredulous that he lasted as long as he did and stayed as good as he did.
Right. Yeah. So you were no longer with Elvis, and what you hear it over the radio? Or did the Colonel let you know that Elvis had passed, or?
No, I got a friend of mine that I had trained to go on the tours and do a lot of the things I did, especially concessions, was kind of put in to take a lot of my duties over when I left and didn't come back. He lasted 2 days. The second day of the tour and quit.
Really?
Yes.
Was that any reason? Did the Colonel didn't get along with him or something, or was it just too much?
It was just too much.
Yeah.
I had more hats than a haberdasher. I was doing so many jobs.
Yeah.
And not getting any sleep. And I was just totally worn out.
Uh-huh.
But this guy, after the tour was over, the Colonel called him, and he went back in and talked to him, and the Colonel promised him things would change, and he'd take some of the duties away from him and give him a spread around.
Uh-huh.
So the guy agreed to go on the next tour, which would have been the last tour.
Right.
That tour that never was. And I would talk to this guy all the time. You see, he came over the night before he was going on. The night he was going, the tour started the following day, Portland, Maine. And he had called me and asked me if he could park his car in my garage while he was on tour, and if I could take him to the airport. So I said, sure. And, he, as he always had, he tried to talk me into coming back.
Uh-huh.
The Colonel wants you back. Just grab a bag and come on tour. He won't say a word. He wants you back. Of course he did, because he couldn't reach me, and that really frustrated the Colonel when he couldn't get his way.
Uh-huh.
One little way to get back. Anyway, all night long and all through dinner, this guy kept bugging me, and I kept saying, I'm not going back. I've had it with the road. I'm dead. And we started to drive out to Santa Monica, a small airport, where there was a Learjet waiting for him and a few of the suites and a couple of the musicians that was in the LA area. And he kept bugging me, and I said, look, Ron, I'm not ever going back. And I said, you know, you ought to think about what you're doing, because this is your only source of income. And the way Elvis has been lately, you could get a call anytime and say, Elvis is dead.
Oh my,
what are you going to do?
Oh my God.
Nothing for the future, man.
Wow.
I took him to the airport, and I spent some time talking to the show people that were there. I went home and went to bed. About 9:30, I think it was, the next morning I got a call. I picked up the phone and I said hello, and the voice on the other end said, how did you know? And I recognized the voice as my friend Ron. I said, how do they know what, Ron? What's going on? He said, Elvis is dead.
And he must have thought you were kidding.
No, the way he sounded, there wasn't any doubt. He was very serious. I'll tell you, even to this day, when I talk about that, the hair on my arms stands straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And he swears I foretold that night. And I kept telling him, I said, you know, things were so bad, you just, it was a real shock, but it wasn't a surprise.
Right. He was just that ill and that sick and then just not that feeling well, and you just knew that something's going to happen here.
Yeah, you know, you'd see him one night, he looked pretty decent. The next night, he looked like he put on 40 pounds. It was just water.
Right.
Swelling.
Did Elvis ever say anything that, I just feel like shit?
No.
Never did?
Yeah, when we were on tours, and especially the last year when things weren't so great with his health, you didn't see him much except when he'd come to the procedure was, we'd start the show, I'd get on the phone, call Joe Esposito. Say, Joe, the show started right on time. It's about a 20-minute drive from the hotel, so you ought to leave at this time in order to get here. Because Elvis didn't like to arrive and then wait around. He'd like to go pretty much right on stage.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd get there, and he'd get out of the car, and then they'd run up onto the stage from there. So you didn't get a lot of time to shoot the breeze with him.
Right. Right, well, when Al DeVorn said he was gone and Elvis had left the building, he had left the building.
He had gone. He'd either gone or driving right out of it at the moment.
Uh-huh.
There wasn't any fooling around.
Right. Well, I was lucky enough to meet Al DeVorn the night before he passed away, and I'm glad I met him. He was a very nice man and so knowledgeable about Elvis.
Al was there from the very beginning. Al, as he used to say, he's the only one who did every single job there was on. And probably the nicest man I've ever known.
Mm-hmm. He was very nice. Do you remember any particular concerts at the Sahara Tahoe? Anything that ever happened? I mean, anybody ever fall off stage or anything that you think would be interesting for the book that Sue and I are working on, or you want to think about it and try to get your memory?
Such a blank, we didn't. As I said, we looked at it as kind of a vacation. I ran the souvenir booth. In fact, I gave Sue a letter from the Barton Memorial Hospital people.
Yeah, she says it's very cool.
Yeah, they were always so nice and so gracious. Anyone that supplied people from their charity, and then I would always be there to supervise and make sure everything was okay and take the money, And
Mm-hmm.
it was just such a relaxed atmosphere compared to Vegas.
Really?
Or the tours, And it was like a vacation. And I don't remember ever bringing my camera down and taking pictures in Tahoe,
Because as far as you're concerned, you were taking a day off.
That's right. Those 2 weeks we really look forward to playing Tahoe. It was just a
Really
relaxed area, atmosphere.
With a lot of the, I've been looking around for different information about Tahoe, and it was funny because they said that it sat 1,500 people, and they would sell a lot more tickets than seats, and there were actually mini riots that people were getting sold tickets, and there was no seats for them, but the tickets were being sold by Tahoe. Do you remember that, or?
I don't remember that.
But no, Sue said, yeah, I do remember there being trouble, that some people were not able to get in because They would overbook it. Every time Elvis played there, he would always sell out, and they would always overbook it, thinking that some people wouldn't come. But then again, it was an Elvis Presley concert. People come.
Well, I remember opening night there one year. I can't remember, 75 or 76. Billy Miller, who worked for Concerts Western, and worked for Management 3, Jerry Weintraub. He's from New York, just a funny guy. I was gonna record some of the shows from the soundboard.
Uh-huh.
And I realized we didn't have any tapes, and we'd used them all up on the floors. Well, Billy and I jumped in the car, and he's driving. We went down looking for a store to be open. It's like a Friday night at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Towards the California border, and the traffic coming in from California was just bumper to bumper for many, many miles. And I wasn't feeling well. I was having a terrible pain in my stomach, and it got worse and worse and worse until I got on the floor, and it was just screaming in pain. It hurt so bad.
Uh-huh.
And Billy was going nuts. And finally he turned around, and he's driving up on the sidewalks and all over the place going back to the hotel because he thought I was dying. And we got to the hotel, and he runs up, and they send for an ambulance, and everybody comes down. What's the matter? You know, they couldn't believe it. Ambulance comes and takes me to Barton Memorial Hospital. And I'm in the hospital, and they're shooting me full of morphine, and man, nothing is even touching me. What it was, after about an hour sitting there dying, I passed the kidney stone.
Oh, jeez.
And all of a sudden, instantly, the pain stopped.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, I worked in the emergency room for over 25 years when I was still able to walk. And people who passed kidney stones, they said it was like passing glass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you see many of the entourage anymore, or just like at different festivals? Like,
yeah, I see him a few times a year at festivals. I see Dick Grove a lot. He's here in town. He lives here, and I see Sam Thompson. He's here in town.
Yeah, I'm still very friendly with Dick. And Charles, of course. You know, the funny thing is a lot of people don't know about Charles because Charles kind of stayed out of it, and, you know, because of working for Concerts West. A lot of people don't even know who Charles Stone is.
Well, same with me. I was a very low-profile guy, too.
Mm-hmm.
100 years before anybody knew who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And most people wouldn't know what I did except unless they'd seen a photograph, and they tell you, did you take a picture? But, you know, that was just kind of a sideline when I had a little extra time. I was a tour manager, I acted as concession manager at Lawson.
Uh-huh.
I did so many different things that...
But thank God you did, though. Thank God you took those photos, because look what memories that we wouldn't have. You know, now I never knew that when they did the 50 Golden Award hits, when they put the pieces of swaths of Elvis's clothing, I didn't realize and always wondered if it truly was pieces of Elvis's clothing. And it turned out that it was. And a lot of his clothing, like the 68 Comeback Special, the If I Can Dream suit, all of those would have been cut up if somebody didn't have the foresight, Mike McGregor saying, Elvis, you should keep these, or you know, somebody should keep these. And now, if it wasn't for your photos, what would we have to look at?
Yeah, and you know, if I had any foresight at the time, I would have taken 100,000 more photos.
Really? Did you ever get gifts from Elvis?
No.
No.
It's a real strict, unwritten policy. You know, the Colonel took care of his people.
Right.
Took care of his people.
That's pretty much what Charles said too. That no, okay. Were you a snowman?
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, I sold my snowman's card to the guy's names every year. Set up and have a room there. I can't think of his name right now.
I just picked up a snowman's booklet and one of the wall certificates, but I don't have a card though.
Yeah, I have cards. You know, the Colonel, this guy that wanted instant gratification or instant everything.
Mm-hmm.
One of the funny things that I did all those years with him, because I was always with him and taking him everywhere. We'd stop someplace, he'd see something, and he'd say, "Oh, let's go and get one of these." And it could be $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. I always carried $10,000, $12,000 on me just so I would be ready for something like that. Not that he ever asked me to, And my Uncle Tommy just said, "What do you carry that kind of money for? You're crazy."
Yeah.
But I always did, and one of the things I kept in the briefcase was a little pack of snowman's cards in case he had the urge to sign one and give it to somebody.
Yeah, I don't have one of the cards. I have the booklet and the but which is quite rare in its own right, and so is the certificate. And the one that I have, because Charles says it's got to be signed, because if it's not signed, I doubt if it's real. And the one that I have was given to an RCA executive. I think his last name was Landon or
Graylin Landon.
That's it. I have his booklet and his certificate.
Well, you know what's funny about that? Because on the snowman's card, I believe it's on the card, it says this card is good only if signed by the head potentate or high potentate.
Right.
And then you can't be sure, or something like that.
Yeah, well, this actually, I got this right from him, and now the potentate obviously was the colonel, right? But he would never write the colonel I wish, my dream is to find an autograph of Tom Parker actually writing out his name, Tom Parker, at least Colonel Tom Parker. My gosh, it's Colonel everywhere. It seems like he never signed his name. I mean, he must have on real contracts, though.
On real contracts he did. Also, before he got the colonel designation, of course, it was Tom Parker.
Right. Very rare to find one.
I remember I was in the office at MGM, about 75, and the colonel and Tom and George Parkhill were probably doing a pre-tour. They were out of town, so I stayed there and took care of the office. And Andy Griffin walked in.
Oh, God. Mm-hmm.
He says, howdy. He says, I'm looking for Tom Parker. And I said, oh, Colonel's out of town. He says, well, he was always Tom Parker to me. He's still Tom Parker to me. That was interesting.
So you must have known Eddie Arnold, too, because, of course, the Colonel had Eddie Arnold first before he had Elvis, and then Hank Snow.
Yeah, I remember we were little kids, and Eddie Arnold was playing down at that big, famous old hotel down in San Diego. I can't think of. Anyway, my whole family, we had like 10 kids in the family. We went down to see Eddie Arnold. And I think my aunts, 3 Dickens sisters, were on the show too. And had dinner, Eddie and Colonel Marie and my whole family after the show.
Uh-huh.
And the last time I saw Eddie, the Colonel and I flew in a Citation jet up to Reno. And Eddie was performing in Reno, and we sat there for the show, and after the show, we kicked everybody out of the showroom, except me and the Colonel, and Eddie came out and sat down and sat there for about an hour and had coffee and just talked about a whole lot. I was just listening, but it was really interesting.
I always liked Eddie Arnold, always loved his voice, but I always thought he didn't know what to do with his hands.
Yeah, he had his hands. He was always trying to make some kind of gestures that
Right.
never seemed to sit right.
Right, but he had a beautiful voice. Well, I'm going to cut you off right now because I don't want to bother you for too long, but I'm certainly going to call you back again. And actually, somebody's on the other line. I think it's my wife trying to check on me. She
Go for it.
Yeah, she likes to make sure that I'm okay. So,
Sure.
Thanks a lot.
No problem. Sure. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, hi, Ed. Joe Crone. You got a second?
Sure, Joe. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's a rainy day in New York here. How's it in Vegas?
Absolutely.
Yeah, jeez, that's not right. Hey, I wanted to ask you something. I was told that Elvis brought a lot of books on tour. Do you know anything about that?
No,
You don't know anything about it, or you don't agree?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, you don't know anything about it. Actually, I was told that he brought a lot of books, and some of the other entourage members, bodyguards, would complain because they would have to carry them.
Well, they carried as little as possible, so I wouldn't give that much credence either.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, that's a good way to think about it, though.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you weren't doing taking photos, you were in the souvenir stand, do you kind of remember basically what was being sold? I mean, did they have like hound dogs for the Sahara Tahoe too, or no?
I don't remember if we sold hound dogs up in Tahoe.
Or teddy bears, or...
I don't remember ever selling teddy bears. I may have sold them in '69, but
Uh-huh.
that was before I got there.
Okay, do you remember was there anything special besides the pin for Sahara Tahoe, or nothing that was like serious, just made up for the Sahara Tahoe besides the pin?
Nothing comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that was a long time ago. My memory.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you been able to think of anything else since I've talked to you, maybe that you think would be interesting about the Sahara Tahoe?
All I remember is that I did think of something that was interesting, but I forgot what the heck it was.
Oh, don't you hate that? Oh, I know I was supposed to ask you, do you remember the night when somebody handed Elvis a squirt gun, and they had a squirt gun fight that happened at the Sahara? And Sue McCaslin had started that, and she wanted me to ask you if you remember that at all.
No, I was probably out in the casino gambling with the colonel.